Hey guys, welcome back to CALLOUS Invitational 3. This is absolutely the biggest set of the tour so far because this is the 4th place match. And of course, for those of you who have been following the tour, only the top 3 players receive cash money, and the 4th player is going to be the odd man out. He'll be on the bubble, as they say in poker, the highest finishing player who is out of the money, and it's going to be one of these extremely talented, extremely accomplished players in either Astamatitos, longtime SPL veteran, widely regarded as one of the very best of all time ADV players and most consistent players in the world, versus ZF, who is an ADV Cup winner and an SPL staple, and also a veteran player who is very good at black-white as well. So these are two heavyweights of the tier. Not at all surprised that either of these guys are here, but the unfortunate thing is that one of them, despite their very good run to get this far, will not make money in this tournament, and we are going to find out together who that is. But before we do that, let me remind you guys one more time that this tour is still accepting donations. It is not too late. If you want to get in and make somebody's day, make the prize that much better at the last minute for one of these guys, or for ABR, or for Triangles, those two guys are guaranteed money at this point, then absolutely throw down some cash money. You support me, you support this tournament, you support the players in the tournament. It is win-win-win all the way around, and it's a good thing for the community. No amount is too small, so if you've got anything to throw our way to make this that much better, please consider doing so, and I will give you the credit that you deserve in multiple places, including a end of tournament video that will be coming when this all wraps up. Alrighty guys, no more talk, let's get into it. Asta and ZF fighting for 4th place for the loser, and who knows, maybe even still the tournament win for whoever goes on to play after this and wins the set. So Asta's on the bottom, he has a T-Tar lead, ZF has a Coon on the top, it's a Blissey switch and a Calm Mind respectively. Lead Coon is often but not always an offensive Coon, which would be very walled here by Blissey. Wow, he goes immediately substitute. I think the ideal thing there was that a Toxic or a Thunder Wave was simply blocked by the sub. S-Toss doesn't pop it, so we know it's a 404 HP Coon, therefore 101 HP subs, which is why Seismic Toss, doing exactly 100%, is not blocking it. Or is blocking it, rather. But I'm not sure where ZF thinks this is going. This does not seem like a winning fight. Yes, the Seismic Tosses take 2 attempts to pop the sub. It's annoying. It costs PP because of pressure. That's all fine and well, but this does not seem like a winning fight for ZF, especially with that sand up where the Coon is effectively not actually gaining leftovers. I mean, is he going to Hydro Pump him? Is he going to boost a bunch and just go for a big pump and try to kill Bliss that way? Another S-Toss. ZF has been very persistent with this. He's down to 25% here. He can't do this again. He can't sub down to 1 HP or whatever and simply die. Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. That changes things. He's got a sub-rest set. So Calm Mind sub-rest, and I mean, the last move just has to be Surf, right? This set makes no sense with Hydro Pump, and it's not going to be random Ice Beam, so it's going to be last move Surf. And that's a really weird set for ZF, but it might do some work here. It might also just be for nothing as he gets roared out. So yeah, that was actually all for nothing. If anything, it might have been disadvantageous for ZF because he reveals his entire set to Asta, who now knows that any surprise value of that is gone. He knows he has to play around that for the rest of the game now. And that's a very dangerous set if Asta doesn't play around it. But obviously discovering it so early on, Asta is going to play accordingly. And Coon, despite the specs drop that came with that crunch, is going to stay in. So that's going to put him at +1 special attack, but not defense. Not that it matters in the 4E matchup. And he does go +1 surf, 43%. Asta has brought it looks like just a standard 4E TSS right now, but with so many unrevealed pokes on both sides, it's hard to say. ZF could have maybe a balanced team. There could definitely be a mag somewhere since both Coon and the Selby really appreciate Skarm not being there. There's Calm Mind number 2. Again, he is uneven on boosts because of the crunch. It could matter in this matchup if the Blissey had like random Thunderbolt or something, but most likely it does not. It looks like a standard build. We've only seen S-Toss, but I mean, it's going to have either Soft-Boiled or Wish, or both, theoretically, but almost certainly Soft-Boiled. And then Status Move and Ice Beam would be the rounding out the normal set, but it's not the only set that a Blissey can have. And Asta has simply been stubborn with this matchup and just S-Toss, S-Toss, S-Toss. This is probably ZF's cue to simply rest up unless he thinks something's going to come in and he's going to try to hit it with a Surf. But nope, he does just go for the rest, and soft-boiled for Bliss. Asta playing around the possibility of ZF taking a more aggressive approach there. He's being uber safe with the soft-boiled there. So Cheetar comes in. We've seen Roar already. It got rid of this Coon before. It's looking to do it again. Coon did kill a sleep turn and will kill a second one here. So even though he is going to get roared out, he's due to wake up immediately the next time he makes an appearance. And Lax is what gets dragged out. So it seems very, very likely to me that ZF should have a Magneton in the back, given the fact that all three of these Pokemon that he has shown really, really appreciate Skarmory not being there. There is Crunch as the Coon makes a reappearance. He did have to step on spikes to do that, and Asta's got a Venusaur here. So a little bit of a variation from the standard 4E TSS. This is the Venusaur take on it, which is usually last mon, could be Water plus Gengar or Water plus Aerodactyl, but this is just a slight variation on what would be considered the standard 4E build. And Moltres comes in for ZF. That's obviously going to threaten Fortress. Will-O-Wisp here on the switch is going to connect with Bliss. Bliss thus far seems like a difficult Pokemon for ZF to break. He's not really had a good answer for it or put any kind of meaningful pressure on it. That's a bad trade for ZF for sure. He goes Flamethrower doing only 17%. Who cares? And in exchange, he gets hit with Thunder Wave. So that was definitely a favorable turn for Asta. Now, granted, the Celebi, or theoretically one of the two unrevealed Pokemon for ZF, could have Heal Bell or Aromatherapy to get rid of that paralysis. But if not, that was definitely a bad turn for ZF, getting his Moltres paralyzed basically for nothing. The Flamethrower damage on the Bliss is just so negligible. So that definitely could have been a boo-boo. It is definitely possible that because Asta initially did not attempt to status the Coon on that very, very first altercation between them, that ZF took that incorrectly, evidently, to mean that the Blissey doesn't actually have a status move. For example, he could have been playing around a Bliss that has like Ice Beam, S-Toss, Fire Blast, soft-boiled, or set something along those lines. He might have misread that the Blissey does not have a status move, but it actually does, and that definitely hurts the Moltres going forward. It shows Morning Sun, which is typically a recover, but when Sand is up, it actually only does 25% healing instead of 50%. So Moltres is really in trouble now. That Specs drop is backbreaking. Now in big trouble, whether it stays or whether it goes, thanks to the Pursuit. And we know the full set of the Moltres here. Will-O-Wisp, Flamethrower, Sunny Day, Morning Sun. So he doesn't even have the option to go for like an HP Grass and just fish for a crit. Moltres here is resigned to its fate, and down it goes. That Moltres did little to nothing for ZF, and clearly the advantage now belongs to Asta. Also, even worse, is that for ZF, that was his weather changer. That was his sunny day poke. So the Coon and the Lax, who both tremendously benefit from Sand not being there, are going to have to live with Sand, presumably, assuming Asta gets rid of this Tar and brings it back in later, which is clearly the right thing to do. He takes a risk here. I don't like this from Asta. He takes the risk here of getting hit with an Earthquake. Had the Lax right there just gone EQ, the T-Tower would have died, and the ability to make Sand for Asta would have died, so I definitely think that was a greedy decision, if not an outright mistake, for Astamatitos there. I don't like that play at all. He's going to get away with it, but I still don't think that was a good play. Unsurprisingly, it is a Magneton in the back for ZF. It seemed very, very clear that that would be there, so it's just a weird variant of Magdoll for ZF. Coon is sometimes on Magdoll. It's pretty common. Celebi and Moltres are less common, especially Moltres. That is not a super common poke on Magdoll. but that is the variant that ZF is working with here. He's going to kill the Fori. There is one lair down. He can remove that at some point with the doll, and in fact, here is the doll. There could be a Gengar in the back for Asta. Like I said, the last two pokes are usually water of some kind, and either Gengar or Aerodactyl. And ZF plays around the Gengar here, going for Psychic, thinking indeed a Gengar will come in, but it doesn't. And he does it twice in a row. He's really fishing for it. He thought maybe Asta had the restraint to not bring it in the first time, but then would get cute and bring it in the second time. But he does not do that in either instance. Is Asta being very patient, or is there really, truly no Gengar? Rapid Spin happens now. If there is a Gengar, Asta is still yet to show it. T-Tar comes in, remakes that Sand. Claydol's going to outspeed, get him with the EQ. So ZF on paper has the lead here, but I don't know if he actually does. It's a fairly close game at this point. Can certainly go either way. Closer than it was a few moments ago. Early on, it felt like Asta definitely had a lead. That is not necessarily the case now. Sleep Powder comes down for Venusaur. That's going to hit Magneton. That seems fine. It's done its job. Fori has been removed. There is no, I mean, if the water for Asta happens to be like a Kun or a Milo, then maybe that's bad. Maybe the Magneton does, in fact, have some use. But it's probably just Swampert, given that there is no Rock Resist shown. And certainly now, with the last poke being Aerodactyl here. So there's nothing even close to a Rock Resist on Asta's team. It's got to just be last poke Swampert. I can't imagine what else it would be. That hidden power to do that amount of damage is clearly hidden power Bug, not hidden power Flying, and that is going to smack Celebi for 87%. Huge damage, prompting ZF to get out of the way. He opts for the Sleeping Magneton that would have resisted hidden power, whether it's Flying or Bug, would have been just fine, and Aerodactyl makes a reappearance. Risky there. Had Magneton stayed in, try to wake up, he would have one-hit KO'd the Aerodactyl with Thunderbolt, but Asta takes the chance and gets rewarded. He finds himself against Lax, goes Double Edge. There's Curse, which is going to keep him out of Double Edge range. Whether or not he will live Double Edge plus the Sand is a different matter here. But does Asta want to risk the paralysis? He does. And ZF is going to go for Rest. He believes there's value in preserving his Lax here. I don't know if I love that. In doing this, he is begging for an Aerodactyl crit, but he's going to try to weather the storm. 31% last time, 26% this time, giving us a pretty good idea of what the damage range is here. 27% this time, absolutely begging for a critical hit here. I don't know if ZF is going to get really greedy and Curse again, or if he's going to go straight Body Slam. He can't rest here. I mean, he can rest here. He can't Curse here, is what I was going to say, because the follow-up Double Edge, I think, still might get him there, depending on the roll. So he's forced to rest, and he, again, is fishing to avoid a critical hit, whereas Aerodactyl, I mean, he could do this all day. He's got 18 Double Edges left. This just really does not seem like a winning strategy for ZF, but, I mean, his only normal resist is Magneton, which is not exactly known as a bulky Pokemon, and it's sleeping. I don't know about this strategy for ZF, but it might just be for a lack of a better option. The Kun is at only 54% here. It's bulky, clearly, but it cannot switch in this situation. So ZF is doing what he's got to do, I guess, but the crit mathematically is due at some point. Hasn't found it yet. He's got 14 of them left. He's used 10 Double Edges and has not found the crit. But it is going to come eventually. I have a real hard time thinking he's going to go through 24 Double Edges without a crit. Stranger things have happened. It is possible, but that just does not seem all that likely. Lax has avoided it halfway through the Double Edge PP. 12 of them are gone. Can he somehow weather this storm? 11 Double Edges left. Still no critical hit. ZF is clinging to dear life here, not wanting to get smacked around by this Aerodactyl. I do not like this play. I have not liked it this whole time. I think the better play for ZF would be to simply sacrifice a Pokemon and get the Magneton in. But at this point, he is resigned to this line of play, and finally, there is the crit that ZF was begging for. There are 9 double edges left. That is plenty, and the net result of this is going to be, instead of losing some less valuable fodder Pokemon, you are going to lose the Lax, and I think that is very, very bad for ZF. I think his Lax was very, very important in order to actually close this game, as well as to deal with the Blissey. Very greedy Leech Seed, by the way, there. If that misses, the Celebi's in some serious trouble. I think that was a clear as day recover turn. But ZF sees it differently, and he's now going to recover, which is fine. He has to. But I would have recovered the turn before. He's getting very greedy. I didn't like that Leech Seed there. I think recover is a lot safer. But ZF gets away with it. He misses Leech Seed here on the switch-in, which is annoying but not a huge deal. But the bigger picture issue is ZF now is going to have an issue actually breaking the Blissey now that he has lost Snorlax. In fact, as a whole, it looks to me like ZF's team has a hard time with Blissey. Moltres doesn't break it. Magneton, Claydol don't break it. Oh, that breaks something. That is a timely critical hit for Asta. His Venusaur is faster than Celebi, so it must be very, very speed invested, plus speed nature, possibly maximum speed, and he's going to find a crit at a perfect time there. There's no way that's HP Bug. That's got to just be HP Ice or Fire from the Venusaur. So that was a really timely and lucky crit that made ZF's situation go from bad to worse. It was theoretically possible that ZF could stabilize this game before the crit. Now it's looking real tough. The Coon is going to be ZF's best hope here. He's going to try to set it up against Swampert after it got boomed on. Here's Substitute, which should tank an Earthquake, and it does. So Coon is safe behind the sub here. He can kill Swampert here with a +1 Surf if that's what he goes for. And Venusaur comes in. Asta's not willing to give up his Swampert. ZF did not go for the Surf. He goes for Rest here. Venusaur is not going to have HP Grass because he's got Hidden Power Fire or Ice. He could have, and we see now he does have Giga Drain, which only has 8 PP to begin with Pressure, that is effectively only 4 times he can use that against the Coon, which is not a lot. And Coon could stall him out of that with those defensive Calm Mind boosts. Instead, Asta's going to opt for a Leech Seed, which is a much better play, and it puts a clock on this Coon. He's not going to try to substall when he is seated. Coon is going to wake up. Okay, just kidding. He is going to try to substall while he's seated, but I do not like or agree with that play at all. This seems like a go-nowhere strategy. Coon has no chance of breaking this Blissey when he's got the Leech Seed on him. And ultimately, with Asta having 4 Pokemon against only 2 for ZF, one of which is sleeping, there is just no chance of ZF PP stalling Asta out in the current circumstances. So I really, really do not agree with going for the sub there after you get yourself seated. He sees it differently. Aerodactyl sneaks in here. Earthquake there. He makes that choice, supposed to double edge, to make it so Magneton cannot simply come in and resist the double edge here. If it were to come in, it would instantly die to the Earthquake, so it's going to put ZF in an awkward spot. Now, granted, obviously the Aerodactyl would die to the +1 Coon Surf, but Asta's not going to risk that, and ZF knows that Asta's not going to risk that, so ZF switches as well. He switches a Magneton into an Aerodactyl that is stuck on Earthquake. Obviously, he's not doing that to get his Magneton killed. He knew that there would be a switch there. He's going to be asleep again, and he's going to get tossed seismically, and it looks like he will live one more of those. But sometimes the seismic toss damage roll is funky, and it shows, sometimes it's 33, other times it's 34. It lies to you on the percent, even though the damage that it does never actually changes. But we find out that Magneton does live. He's at 1%, and in comes Coon. He's been asleep for 3 turns, so a long nap for Magneton. Magnets need their rest, in case you didn't know. And Coon comes back in again. Here's Venusaur. Here's the wake-up. Sub! Yes! All right, so he's got a shot here. Let's see who's faster. The Venusaur is faster. Yeah, that's a real fast one. He was faster than Celebi, too. This Venusaur is going for speed, and there is a Giga Drain and the obligatory rest. Combine wouldn't have been enough there. Kuhn would have absolutely still died at +1 to the Giga Drain from 14%, so we had no choice but to rest there. The obnoxious Leech Seed comes down as Kuhn kills a sleep turn. The window closing rapidly for ZF. He's going to have a one-turn window only to get the Kuhn in there and dodge a Leech Seed and then try to set up in the Venusaur's face, because remember, even though this says he has 5 Giga Drains, in actuality he has 2, which is actually only 1 when he does it against the Kuhn because of pressure. So Venusaur effectively only has the 1 Giga Drain left, but this is the bigger picture problem here. This is the rock and a hard place situation for ZF. Aerodactyl comes in against the seeded Kuhn. ZF has no choice but to give up his Magneton, and now only the Kuhn remains for ZF. He's going to have to find the one-turn window coming up right here. He's going to have to dodge the Leech Seed. That's going to be the only way out of this game. If he is seeded, he will be PP stalled out and has no chance to ever break the Blissey. He must get a miss, and he does not. And with that Leech Seed connecting, even though the Venusaur will be out of Giga Drains momentarily, ultimately the Venusaur is not going to be able to break through. Aerodactyl. There is a substitute from the Kuhn. And yeah, I mean, it's ZF's prerogative here to not forfeit. And he does hurt the Aero a lot there with the Surf, but like I said, this isn't, I mean, the Aerodactyl's actually just going to knock him out here, but even if that were not the case, the Kuhn with the Seed will eventually, very slowly, be PP stalled out. There is not going to be any way out of that, and indeed, Asta is going to win this game. A little bit back and forth there. Asta had an early lead. ZF kind of sort of stabilized there. I think ZF made a couple of mistakes. I definitely didn't like the Moltres getting hit with the T-Wave in exchange for just the Flamethrower. That didn't seem worth it. I also did not like the lack sequence from ZF where he just left it in for a bazillion turns against Aerodactyl, begging for the crit. Now, granted, in that situation, there was not a fantastic alternative, but I think sacrificing another poke, the Claydol or something junky or whatever it would have been better than giving up the lax. I think the lax could have potentially ended up being important for ZF. And yeah, I mean, then ZF got unlucky, / Asta got lucky, landing the Venusaur crit on the Celebi. But I think at that point, Asta was already ahead, and that just kind of made a bad situation worse. So, Asta takes game 1. We will see what happens from here. It's a best of 3. We're not in the best of 5s just yet. The sets after this round, I should say, because triangles and ABR still have to play in this round. That's also a best of 3. But after this round, we're going to move over to best of 5. But this is a best of 3. So game 2 is coming up next. Rate, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys there.